Math 2, Unit 0, Day 5. So we're doing more on proofs again today. So everything here we've talked about already. Okay, so it's just kind of putting everything together. So they give us the given, and then we're trying to do the proof. They have given us all the statements, and we have to now give them each of the reasons for each of these statements. Okay, so A. And I wish I had your names on Popsicle Sticks right now, but if you raise your hand, I'm going to call on you for today. Okay, and hopefully by the correct name. So K, what is the answer for A?
Given.
Given is correct. So for most proofs, the number one statement is your given statement. Okay, B. So on B, they told us that, and always kind of look at here, measure angle 1 plus measure angle 2 equals A to O to C. And measure angle 2 plus measure angle 3 is BOD. Okay, who thinks they know what this one is? Caillou. It is. It is the angle addition postulate. Okay, so then we go down to C, and it has measure angle 1 plus measure angle 2. Measure angle equals measure angle 2 plus measure angle 3. Anybody have an idea of what this one is? Robert. Good. And I want you guys to realize this too. It's also called the transitive property, because you might see it this way sometimes. But the transitive property is basically substitution. If you just wrote substitution, that works for me. That's correct. But also know that this is the same thing, because sometimes on tests it might say transitive property, and I want you to know that that means substitution. Okay? All right, then D says that measure angle 2 equals measure angle 2. What property is that? Very good. It's the reflexive property. If you don't know that one yet, you want to make sure you remember that one, because you see that one a lot. Okay, and then E ends with what happened. So how do they end up? And do you guys know what these three dots mean? This means therefore. So anytime you see those three dots, that means therefore. And so it says therefore measure angle 1 equals measure angle 3. So from C to E, what did they end up doing? What happened here? They got rid of the measure angle 2 somehow. What would they have to do in order to get rid of that? Subtraction. Very good. So it's actually the subtraction property. Questions? Okay, number 2. I'd actually like you guys, I'm going to give you about a minute or two. I think a lot of this stuff is similar to what we just did, but it's with a segment versus angles. So I want you to go through as a group and kind of try it on your own. Talk about what you think A, B, C, D, and E are, and then we'll share out as a class. Okay, and I'll walk around if you have questions. Okay, so you should be talking.
I think B is a question.
Okay, anybody need more time? Yes, Michael.
That's why you guys do we used to.
Anybody think they have, does everybody think they have it all? You want me to come check your answers? Got it? Okay. Good. Yes. It's funny. Good. Okay, C is wrong. And D is like that. Okay, anybody having it? It's right or wrong? Okay, good. C is wrong. All right, everybody's kind of getting on wrong. No. So we're going to kind of talk about the difference. Or hopefully I will talk about the difference. Okay, so we're kind of getting mixed up with transitive or substitution. So in here, they told us that measure angle 1 plus measure angle 2 is this whole thing. Measure angle 2 plus measure angle 3 equals that thing. And then we got the transitive because measure angle 1 plus measure angle 2 is measure angle AOC, right? Well, hold on a second. All we're doing is, since this equals, we're substituting in, we're changing something, but I want to look at this. So let's see. So do you see how this was never, we ended up substituting for the 2. So remember back here we go. Measure angle AOC equals measure angle BOD. So since we know that AOC is 1 and 2, I plug that in for 1 and 2. Since I know that BOD equals 2 and 3 together, I substituted that in for that. So do you see how that's transitive or substitution? Because you're going back to what was given and we said all this information, so therefore we're substituting it. Okay, so going down to number 2. Okay, A was what? Everybody got this? Given. And everybody got B, which is reflexive. Good. Okay, now, they didn't substitute on this one. We didn't like change FL and AT where we substituted in for something different. What they did is that they ended up adding an LA to both sides. So therefore, what is that? It is addition property. So when they're, just like here where we went from having the measure angle 1 plus measure angle 2 and measure angle 2 plus measure angle 3, we took that measure angle 2's away. And we talked about how that was subtraction. Here we put both of the LA's in, and so that is addition. Okay, so then D. What's happening on D? It is segment addition postulate. So you're saying FL plus LA equals FA. And then it says AT plus LA equals LT. Okay, so that is your segment addition postulate. Okay, and then again, what do the three dots mean? Therefore, FA equals LT. So what happens there? No, they didn't subtract anything. That's the one where it ends up being the transitive property or substitution. So let's look and make sure this makes sense to us. So you know here, so since we know that FL plus LA equals FA, we are substituting in FA for that and LT for that. And so that's where it's the transitive substitution. Do we see the difference between adding and substituting? Okay, yes. Did you? Keiko, did you have a question? Okay, all right, just making sure. Anybody have questions? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Number 4. Do you guys think you're ready to give this another try? Okay, so in your groups, now we're dealing with angles again. So be careful of like angles versus segments. Okay, so you can try it on your own or work together in your group. Okay, let's see what you got. And once you have it, raise your hand and I'll see if your group has it. Unsure of something, feel free to raise your hand and I can help you guys. Number 1 should be pretty easy. I'm hoping. 2 should also be easy, I'm hoping. Okay, so 1 and 2 are right at 3. But after they say reflexive, most of the time for that plan is either going to be addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, and so if you look from 2 to 3, see how all of a sudden both of these have the measuring of 2, and right here they're equal to each other, and then all of a sudden they're adding measuring equal to both sides. So all they did was addition. So that should we have to provide one addition. Don't we have to? Okay, does that kind of make sense? All right. And so then from there, on this one right here, they are, especially when you have 2 things, it usually has to go to this much. And so they said like measuring 1 plus measuring 2 equals this, and measuring 2 plus measuring 3 equals this. Like sure, angle addition. Because they're talking about how these 2 angles equal the whole angle, these 2 angles equal the whole angle. Okay? And then the next one, that's when they do the substitution. Okay. Good, good. Okay, what is my number? Is more than not. What is all these places not like the property should be listed items?
I think I like the one where you have to
So
solve.
we have your letters. Look at 3. All of a sudden it went, say, hey, remember on 1 how it says measuring 1 equals measuring 3? Then now it's like measuring 1 equals measuring 3 equals measuring 2. Well, it added measuring 2. So
I skipped
that is going to be your decision property. Okay, so again, after reflexive is usually going to become addition, subtraction. Okay? Then, or, that's right, English and property. And then here is
What did you guys do?
just reasonability. That's all the dismiss. Is that one? And then the last one is
Yeah, they live like right on the water, like right outside in the backyard.
all right, I made it around to most of the groups there. So raising your hands, what is number 1? Very good. Thanks for raising your hands. And I'm just kidding, it's fine. Okay, number 2, what's number 2? Reflexive. Okay, and what I was talking to a lot of your groups is that more often than not, once you have reflexive, you're going to use like addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. That's why they're telling you the two things equal the same, and then you're using that information to either add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So what is happening on number 3? Addition property. And I guess that was really reflexive property. Okay, and then number 4. What's happening with number 4? Angle addition property. They're telling you 2 angles equal the whole angle. 2 angles equal the whole angle. So that is angle addition postulate. Okay, and then number 5. They end up using substitution or your transitive property. And I'm just going to put substitution as well. Okay, questions? Okay. So now we did this one with angles. This is now one where it's not angles anymore. You have segments. I want you guys to try this one. And I don't know why 2 is way over here, but you can move it if it bugs you, because it kind of bugs me. 1 they didn't state. What should they have written there? Good. You normally put your given part. So you should be writing this. KP equals ST. And I'll shut that off. PR equals TV, and that is given. Okay, what do you think 2 is? Good. Reflexive property is correct. Number 3, what have they now done? Good, you guys got it. Addition property. Okay, number 4. It is substitution or transitive. I'm just going to put slash. Okay, 5. You guys are amazing. That is correct. Segment, addition, postulate. And then the last one. Good, it is transitive again, or substitution. Okay, questions? Am I going too fast? We're good? Okay, 8. This one's slightly different because what else is on 8? There's a triangle. There's going to be, what kind of things might we see in here when you have triangles and angles? Yeah, maybe exterior and interior angles, right? Linear pairs, supplementary. Good. Okay, let's work through this one together. Number 1. Very good. Given is correct. 2, measure angle 1 equals measure angle 5. Very good. Those are vertical angles. Okay, number 3, it says measure angle 2 equals measure angle 5. It's substitution or transitive. So look at that and see if you understand why that's substitution or transitive. Talk in your groups why that is. Okay, can someone explain that loudly to the class for us? Does anyone have a loud voice? Anybody? Sarah, you can explain it? You don't have to. I'm not going to make anybody force anyone. Okay, Kay, thank you. Kay, shh, listen up.
Well, it's given a measured angle 1 and measured angle 2 are equal, and because number 2, the vertical angles for measured angle 1 and measured angle 5 are equal, then due to substitution you can get that measured angle 2 is equal to measured angle 5 because we're replacing the 1 with the 2 because they are equal.
Right, so back here at 1, it said that 1 and 2 are equal. That was given. And then we know that 1 and 5 are equal because they're vertical angles. So therefore I can substitute in 2 for 1 because at the very beginning 1 equaled 2. Are we okay now? Awesome. All right, number 4. So look at 4. They're telling us that measure angle 2 plus measure angle 4 equals 180. Now this sometimes is where I feel like people get confused, like with, well, I actually need to talk to some of the other teachers, but what do you guys think this one is? Okay, this one is actually not supplementary. I mean, they are supplementary, but it's a linear pair. So when you're adding 2 angles like this, okay, it's a linear pair. Now, if you put the supplementary angles, I don't know if I would mark you wrong, because it also is correct. Yeah. All right, number 5. Do you have a question, Joseph? Ask me. Number 5, a linear pair. Are 5 and 4 on the same line? Okay, so what's going on with 5 and 4? Well, we know alternate exterior angles, but these aren't actually alternate exterior angles. Francisco.
It's transitive?
Yes, it is transitive. So look at that, see if you understand why it's transitive or substitution.
They are
alternate exterior angles are equal, right? Just like alternate interior angles are equal. This doesn't work because they are not on like parallel lines with the transversal going through, because they're intersecting like that, and so that won't work on that. And if you kind of look, see how the angles aren't really the same? They do probably equal 180. Like, I agree with those two adding to be 180, but that's not what alternate exterior angles are. Am I correct? Okay.
Yeah. Ones, because they're intersecting and not parallel.
Right. Okay, do we understand why that's transitive or substitution? What happened? Because we know that this, right? Well, so we went back, we understand how we could put that this is a linear pair, right? This all makes sense? And then because we know measure angle 2 equals measure angle 5, instead of having measure angle 2 there, I put in measure angle 5. You see it? So that's why it's transitive or substitution. And then what has happened? It's definition of supplementary angles. And the reason why we use definition of supplementary angles here is that supplementary angles don't have to be on the same line. It's just two angles that add to be 180. And do we see how these two aren't both on the same line? Where up here these two were. And so I think that's why we would use the linear pair versus the supplementary angle. Do you guys understand that? Yes? Even though this is a supplementary angle or supplementary straight line, okay? All right, questions on any of these steps? Okay, let's move on. And why is it 8 here and then we're going back to 6 and 7? I don't know, but that's just the way we're doing it. Okay. What does it mean when you have two lines like that? Very good. Okay, so what should I write on number 1? K is parallel to M and given. Very good. So we have to put in both those pieces. All right, I'm gonna give you about 20 seconds. Look at where angle 3 and angle 5 are and decide what it is that's happening there. Okay, what is it? Very good. Alternate interior angles. Okay. 3, it jumps down and it tells you that measure angle 5 plus measure angle 8 equal 180. We just talked about this. Very good. It is a linear pair. So we're going to be more specific and not just say that it's 180 because it's on a line. So since it's on a line, we're going to call it a linear pair. Sound good? Okay. So then we get angle 3 plus angle 8 equals 180. Very good. Transitive, which actually and also means substitution property. Okay, and then 5. What has happened? 3 and 8. Definition of supplementary angles. Very good. And why am I using definition of supplementary angles on this one? They're not on the same line. Because when they're on the same line, we would call it a linear pair. Very good. All right. Number 7 is slightly different, but there's similarities. Do you guys, I think you guys can try it on your own. So you're going to try it on your own. Ready, set, go. So remember, you guys go back in your notes and look at some of your, okay, at where like it talks about what the different angles are. So I'm putting in my given part right now. 1 was given. Okay, did you go back? It says angle 1 here and angle 2. Did you go back and look and just figure out? Because those aren't both inside. Okay, they're not vertical. They're not diagonal from each other. They're in the same spot, different lines, which is corresponding angles. Okay, then it says angle 2 and angle 3. Very good. That is transitive. How is that transitive? Talk in your groups. Why is that transitive or substitution? Okay, in a loud voice, somebody besides Kay, tell me why. Okay, Caillou, thank you. Very good, because way back at the beginning, angle 1 equaled angle 3, right? They told us those were congruent, and then we went here because of corresponding angles, and then all we did was substitute in 2 for 1, since they are equal. What does this mean again? Therefore, C is parallel to D, but what happened? Does anybody know what's actually happened there? Okay, so it is alternate interior angles converse. Do you guys remember what converse means? Opposite. So since we know that alternate interior angles, because it's like if you have 2 parallel lines, right? Remember, if you have 2 parallel lines, then your alternating interior angles are congruent. So we're doing the converse, like we're flipping that around. So since we have 2 alternate interior angles, that means the lines are parallel. So it has to do with alternate interior converse because we are doing the opposite. Are there any questions on that? Okay.